Yeah. Next concept is process scheduling. Here, the process scheduling will be done by the process schedulers. Okay, the process scheduler selects an available process for execution on the CPU. What's the job of process scheduler? It selects the available process for execution. It will be selected by the process scheduler. Okay, and here we have the process scheduling queues. We have different process scheduling queues. Okay, as when the process enters the system, okay, they are the put into the job queues first. Okay, once the process is entered to the system, once the process is created, it is entered to the system. That time, that process will be put into the job queues. Okay, job queues will consist of set of all processes in the system. Okay, once the process is created, that process, once the process enters the system, they will be put into the job queue. So the job queue will be having set of all processes in the system. Okay, next is ready queue. Ready queue is nothing but the processes that are placed in the main memory and are ready and waiting to execute are placed in the list called ready queue. Okay, the processes which are placed in the main memory for execution purpose, they are ready for the execution. Okay, such process will be loaded to the main memory, right? From this job queue, the job process will be loaded to the main memory. That means that those processes are ready for execution, or that are the process which are in waiting for some any resources. Okay, that list of processes will be said to be in ready queue. Okay, the processes that are placed in the main memory and are ready and waiting to execute are placed in the ready queue. Okay, this is in the form of like a linked list form. Okay, the header consists of pointer to the first one, and tile will consist of final one, final process control block in the list. Okay, we'll see that each process control block consists a pointer field. That will points to the next process control block. We'll see with the diagram. You can see here the ready queue will consist like this. This is the ready queue. It is like our linked list format. It will be having a header and a tile, and the head will points to the uh, first PCB. Okay, and tile will points to the final PCB. Okay, in ready queue there will be many number of processes. Okay, first process will be pointed by the header, and last final process will be pointed by the tile. Okay, that is PCB. Okay, process control block, which will be consist of process information. That's what we have discussed in the previous session. Okay, like that, if you have three processes in the ready queue, that time the first process will be pointed by the header. Okay, and this first process, first process control block, it will points to the next process control block, next process control block, that will be pointed to the next process control block. Okay, and the tile will again points to the final process control block. That's nothing but the final process. Okay, tile will be pointing to that. If you have only one process in ready queue, that time both head and tile will points to the that single process control block. Okay, that is about ready queue. Yeah, next we have device queue. Okay, it is a list of processes waiting for the particular IO devices is called device queue. Okay, device queue is list of processor waiting for the IO devices is called device queue. Okay, when CPU is allocated to the process, it may execute for some time and it may quit, or with the interrupt, it may wait for an interrupt to occur. Okay, such processes will be stored in the device queue. Understood, right? We have three different queues when process scheduling. That is job queue. Job queue will consist of all the processes in the system. Once the process is entered to the system, that will be first stored in the job queue. Okay. Once the process, next is ready queue. If the process is ready for the execution, okay, such processes will be stored in the ready queue. Okay, that is nothing but the processes which are residing in the main memory. Okay, ready are and waiting to be executed, such processes will be in the ready queue. Okay, next we have another queue called device queue. Device queue consists of set of processes which are waiting for some IO device. Okay, and these processes will be migrate from various queues. Okay, from job queue to ready queue to device queue to ready queue. Like this, the process will be transferring from various queues. Okay, understood, right? Next, this is the representation of process scheduling. Okay, the process scheduling commonly represented by using this queuing diagram. Okay, this is the process scheduling queuing diagram. Okay, and queues are represented by the rectangular boxes. You can see here, these are this rectangular box represents the queues. Okay, and resources needed are represented by the circles. You can see here, the CPU is a resource, IO is a resource. Resources are represented by using circles. Okay, here once the process is in ready queue, okay, that means that needs some resource, that is CPU. Okay, from the CPU, the process will shift to the, with the IO request, IO queue, it will shift. Okay, that time the process may need IO resource. Okay, after getting this IO resource, the process will again shift back to the ready queue. Okay, like this, the process will change from its states from one queue to another queue. Okay, process will migrate from one queue to other queue. It will process will migrate from the ready queue to IO queue. Okay, uh, with an request or some, if the process may wants to wait for some time. Okay, that time the process will shift from CPU to some time slice expired queue. From there, it again it will be shifted to the waiting queue. Okay, and sometimes the process is one, it may be waiting for creation of a sub process. Okay, after that execution of the child process, it will be shifted back to the ready queue. Okay, or sometimes the process may be wait for an interrupt to occur. After that interrupt occurrence, again the process will be shifted back to the ready queue. Okay, like this, the process will be uh, migrated from one queue to another queue. Okay, here a new process is initially first put it into the ready queue. Ready queue will consist of the new process. Okay, and it waits there until it is selected for execution. Okay, that means until a processor is assigned, it will be in the ready queue. Okay, once the processor is assigned, it will be shifted to the CPU. Once the process is assigned CPU, then it will start executing. Okay, then it will be waits for different events to occur. Okay, once like it can execute an IO request. Okay, that time it will be placed in the IO queue. Okay, or the process can create a sub process and wait for sub process to terminate. Okay, that time it will execute this 4K child child executes. Then it will migrate to the ready queue again. Okay, or the process may be removed from the CPU as a result of interrupt, or it can be put back to the ready queue. Okay, with an interrupt, the process will be shift from CPU to again ready queue. Okay, these process states can be changed because of some event, occurrence of some event. The process will change from one state to other state. Okay, understood this? Next we have process schedulers. Okay, process schedulers, we have the different types of schedulers. One is long term scheduler, other one is short term scheduler. The long term scheduler is called as job scheduler, which selects which process should be brought into the ready queue. Okay, which process we need to be put it into the ready queue will be selected by using the long term scheduler. Okay, whereas short term scheduler, which is also called as CPU scheduler, which selects which process should be executed next and allocates the CPU. Okay, that will be done by short term scheduler. Okay, you can see here we have another scheduler called medium term scheduler. Okay, some operating system introduces the intermediate level of scheduling called medium term scheduler. Okay, it can be advantageous to remove the process from the memory so that it reduces the degree of multi-programming. Okay, by using this medium term scheduling, we can remove the processes which are the process which are in the ready state, that can be removed from the main memory. We can put that to the ready queue again. That can be done by using the medium term scheduler. Okay, the process can be later reintroduced to the main memory. Okay, and it can execute, it can continue its execution from where it has left off. Okay, this process is called swapped out, and it is later swapped into the um, main memory by using this medium term scheduler. You can see here the process is in ready queue. With some event occurrence, the process is shifted to the CPU. Okay, the ready queue, the which process we need to add to this ready queue will be depends on the long term scheduler. Job scheduler will do this work. Okay, from this ready queue to CPU, that will be done by the short-term scheduler. That is nothing but CPU scheduler. Okay, we have the medium-term scheduler, that which will remove the process which is already running in the main memory. Okay, executing process can be swapped out and swapped in. Okay, that can be done by using the medium-term scheduling. Okay, that will reduces the degree of multi-programming. Okay, especially this comes when it is multi-programming. What is the advantage of multi-programming? It will makes the complete CPU utilization. CPU will be utilized effectively by using multi-programming. CPU will not be idle at all. If one process is running in the CPU, if the process needs some any IO resource, that time the CPU will be shifted from that process to another process. Other process which is already ready, that process will be picked by the CPU. It will start executing it until the process previous process completes its IO resource. Okay, so at that time there will be many processes will be running in the stored in the main memory for CPU to execute it. So that by using this medium term scheduling, we can remove the process from the main memory, and later we can again swap into the main memory. That time the process will execute from where it has left, stopped the execution. From there, execution will start and it completes its execution. Okay, this is about different schedulers. Okay, we have these schedulers um, will be differentiated by using this how frequently it will get invoked. Okay, short-term schedulers will get invoked very frequently. That is milliseconds frequency. So it is very fast. Long-term scheduler is invoked very infrequently, less frequent time. So seconds or minutes. So it is, it may be slow. Okay, the long-term scheduler controls the degree of multi-programming. Okay, we like swapping or swapping out from the main memory, that will be done here. And processes can be described either as IO bound processes or CPU bound processes. IO bound process means spends more time doing the IO than computation, is called IO bound process. Okay, many short CPU burst will be comes under this IO bound processes. Whereas CPU bound process means spends more time doing the computation. The process which spends more time for the computation is CPU bound process. The process which spends more time for the IO, that is IO bound process. Understood, right? This is about schedulers. Next is context switch. Context switch is nothing but when CPU switches to the another process, the system must save the state of the old process and load the saved state of the new process via context switch. We have discussed in the previous session this diagram. Second, I'll show you. Yeah, this one. This is context switching. Okay, before when the this is nothing but the way of CPU will switch from one process to the another process. Okay, when an interrupt occurs, the system needs to save the current context of the process which is running on the CPU, and the context is represented in the process control block of that process. Okay, the state of the process will be stored into that process control block of that process. If an interrupt occurs, the CPU will switch from process 0 to process 1. Before switching from the process 0 to process 1, it saves the state of the process 0 into the process control block of process 0. That here it is storing the information of process 0 to state information of process 0 to process control block 0. Then it will loads the state information from the process control block 1. That is nothing but process P1's process control block 1. It loads the state information of process 1. Okay, and then it will execute it. After completion of execution, it again saves the state information to the process control block 1. Okay, this process P1's state information will be saved to the process control block 1. Okay, after execution completes, after storing the state information of process control 1, again the process CPU will shift from the process control block, so shift from the process 1 to process 0 by reloading the state information from the process control block 0. Okay, by reloading the state information of process 0 from the process control block 0, it will start executes the process 0. This is nothing but context switching. Okay, context of a process represented in the process control block. Context switch time is overhead. The system does no useful work while switching it. Okay, the time depends on the hardware support. Here the context switching time will be depends on the hardware support. Okay, how much time the resource to execute the resources, how much time it will take, depends on that. The context switching time will be depends. Okay.